All right, viewers, a massive row today emerged on the floor of both houses of parliament, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. It followed up on this big story that exploded late last night about certain individuals who were allegedly spied upon by the government.
If proven, this could be the biggest hacking scandal to hit India. As many as 300 Indians may have been targets of high-tech snooping between 2017 and 2019. The potential targets include two serving ministers, Ashwini Vaishnav and Prahlad Patel, Rahul Gandhi, Prashant Kishore, and Mamta Banerjee's nephew Abhishek Banerjee also figure in the list. Other high-profile names include former election commissioner Ashok Lavasa and the staffer who accused former CJI Ranjan Gogoi of harassment. The leaked database of phone numbers of potential targets was accessed by Paris-based non-profit media Forbidden Stories. The list, shared with 16 global news organizations, was released in India by the news portal The Wire. The suspected snooping was allegedly done using phone hacking spy software Pegasus, manufactured by Israeli firm NSO, which claims to service only governments. The report by The Wire says whether hacking actually took place or not can be confirmed only by conducting a technical analysis of the phones. The NSO group has rejected all the targets. The Snoopgate scandal rocked Parliament on Monday, the first day of the monsoon session.
I highlight, sir,
the Narendra Modi government issued a statement in Parliament denying the charges.
Using Pegasus. This cannot be a coincidence, Honorable Speaker, sir. In the past, similar claims were made regarding the use of Pegasus on WhatsApp. Those reports had no factual basis and were categorically denied by all parties. It is beyond dispute that the data has nothing to do with surveillance or with NSO.
My view is that
the opposition is, however, unrelenting in its attack, prompting a furious counter by the centre.
A thorough independent judicial inquiry, or indeed an inquiry by a strong parliamentary committee, could well be the way forward. But my view is that an inquiry must be done. We cannot just brush it under the carpet.
Not a shred of evidence has come that in this entire Pegasus story, there is any linkage of the government or the Bharatiya Janata Party.
The exploding political showdown over Pegasus software has once again reignited the debate on privacy. The big question now is, did any hacking take place? If it did, who ordered it?
The exploding political showdown over Pegasus software has once again reunited the debate over privacy. The question is, was the hacking ordered, and if so, who ordered it? Meanwhile, with the new names cropping up, the entire situation is expected to be making it to the parliament with fireworks expected. With camera person Satya Ranjan, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi for India Today.
At the back of the Kanwar Yatra now being put off in all states, including Uttar Pradesh, the Kerala government has come under heavy fire, primarily for allowing Bakri Eid celebrations for 3 days. In all of this, the Supreme Court has also played a role.
Over 10,000 COVID cases every single day in Kerala. The positivity rate over 10%, the highest in the country. But the Pinarayi Vijayan government has put faith over the COVID fight. For 3 days, as cases are surging in God's own country, markets have been opened up to allow Bakri Eid shoppers to shop for the festival.
The Supreme Court has actually refused to put a stay or restrict the orders by the state governments to ease the restrictions in the wake of Bakri Eid. The government has eased the regulations for about 3 days, that is Sunday, Monday and Tuesday tomorrow. However, the state IMA has said they had already demanded the state government to open up the shops for more time so that there will be very less crowd. However, they have also come to the opinion that it is not conducive at this moment for Kerala to have the state completely opened up for all kinds of services.
Experts' warnings have been ignored by the state government, and the Indian Medical Association has even warned the government, even threatening to sue over this callous order.
It's not at all time for total relaxation. Even if it is Bakrid or Ramzan, Christmas, Onam, Trishur Puram, Shabarimala, whatever, it is not the time for the total relaxation. We'll have to wait for some more time.
The Supreme Court, whose intervention rightly ensured the cancellation of the Kanwar Yatra in Uttar Pradesh, has felt no need to immediately act against the Kerala government's order. A notice has been issued to the Pinarayi government, but any action now will be belated. Markets are open, people are out and about in the state. The Apex Court rightly said a mass religious gathering cannot happen amidst a pandemic, while cautioning against the Kanwar Yatra. But in the case of Kerala, there's no order yet from the top court. The opposition is also now up in arms against the Pinarayi Vijayan government.
अब ये देश को सोचना है और ये सारे लोगों को सोचना है जो हम लोगों पर हिंदू नेता और हिंदू राजनीति का एक लाछन लगाते हैं, ये उनको सोचना है, कि हम लोगों को नहीं सोचना है.
But it isn't just Bakrid celebrations that have been allowed. Restrictions at the Sabarimala shrine have also been eased now.
The government has made it mandatory for all devotees to carry a COVID-19 negative certificate over here. And it's not just that you should have a negative certificate, but you should also get it certified from the competent authority which is actually present here, because they need to verify the authenticity of that particular certificate.
With COVID cases rising in Kerala, serious questions are being asked about the government's priorities there. Is it appeasement or fighting the pandemic? With Gopi Krishnan Unnithan in Thiruvananthapuram, Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, viewers, one thing is for sure, that the COVID cases across the country are coming down. However, there is a threat which is looming large of a possible third wave. In midst of all of this, there are many people who are travelling. Now, that travel is being called revenge travel in the times of COVID. Will we pay a heavy price for it? My colleague Sneha Murdani with more.
Being turned away in Lonavala, Section 144 at the hill station after crowding. Statewide curfew in Goa extended up to July 26th. A weekend curfew in Tripura's Agartala has been imposed. A 10-day total curfew in Manipur.
I think this time people are, by and large, they are obeying the order imposed by the government. We are also working very hard to enforce the curfew. By and large, the curfew is effective till now.
Pan-India COVID curbs are creeping in amid rising cases. The 7 states in Northeast are witnessing high positivity rate, which stubbornly refuses to fall below the 10% mark. The government has flagged next 3 to 4 months as critical in India's COVID fight. Consider this, the active cases in India, though declining due to rising recoveries, are still over 4.22 lakhs. India is back to square one. Increasing reproductive value in states has led to the ICMR to say that we are a month away from the third wave.
Whether to ease restrictions at the district level should be guided by the test positivity ratio. So the whole point is not to figure out what has gone wrong, but what we could do in order to handle the pandemic now the best.
47 districts with over 10% positivity rate are of concern in India right now. They include all districts in northeastern states and 8 in Kerala, the worst hit state in the country. As some areas are opening up after a brief let-up, with poor vaccination rates, cases are bound to increase.
We need to remember that unlock is not removing restriction, but it's a strategy. It's a dynamic strategy where government should keep looking at various parameters, be it a COVID-appropriate behavior, vaccination rate, or not, and accordingly modify and nudge or redo which restriction to be put in the place which need to be removed.
The government's own data shows that mask use has declined, and also that the Delta variant, which is the most predominant variant in India right now, is actually 40% more transmissible than the previous Alpha variant. It is imperative to know that even though we might be tired of the infection of COVID-19, the infection per se is not showing any signs of fatigue. In New Delhi, Sneha Mordani for India Today.
All right, viewers, monsoon might have finally hit the national capital, but it's raining mayhem not just in Delhi, but the adjoining NCR region as well, Noida and Gurugram. In Gurugram, cars were seen floating on the road as rain water collected around houses due to incessant downpour. A bus was also seen stuck in the water for a long time in the Mahipalpur area. In many places, traffic was diverted as well. The national capital recorded over 70 mm of rainfall in the last 24 hours, and more rainfall is expected in the next 24 hours. According to the weather department, Delhi and its adjoining areas will now witness thunderstorms over the next 24 hours. All right, viewers, but that's not where the monsoon is coming down heavily, just in Delhi adjoining areas or other states of India. For the first time, many countries in Europe, namely Austria, Germany, have seen the worst floods in 300 years.
Broken houses in Germany, landslides in Turkey, cars underwater in Austria, overflowing rivers washing away bridges in China, and heavy rains wreaking havoc across Asia and Europe. Parts of Germany wreaked by flash floods over the last week. The town of Schul has been one of the worst hit regions, with destroyed infrastructure, washed away roads, submerged sanitation system, and phones and internet networks on the blink.
My cousin lives on the first basement. The flood was just about this far away from the roof. The house was completely inundated with everything destroyed. The mud in the house was still 50 centimeters thick after we pumped the water. We have no idea how we can restore the house to its original condition.
Chancellor Angela Merkel visited the region and spoke to the flood victims. Expressing her horror, she described the situation in the flooded regions as surreal and terrifying. She also called for an urgent policy to fight climate change.
The lessons are none other than what we already knew. We have to hurry. We have to get faster in our fight against climate change. And I believe that European Union is working on just that. The fact that we will be the first continent to be carbon neutral by the middle of the century is something that matters. And yet, the second lesson is just that we must also pay great attention to adapting to this.
The situation is equally dire in Austria after record rainfall. Homes have been reduced to rubbles, furniture and rubble dotting the streets. Many shops had to be cleaned after being swamped with slush.
Yesterday there was water everywhere, up to our knees, and now we just have to clean up.
In Turkey, rescue divers raced against time to search for missing people after rains triggered flash floods and landslides in Rise. At least 6 people died and 2 were missing. Torrential rain in China's Yixian County of Boding City led to overflowing of rivers and damage to the bridges. Half of a key bridge was washed away. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, viewers, let's move on. Afghanistan has now slammed Pakistan after the abduction of its ambassador to Pakistan, Najibullah's daughter. And that has now had diplomatic fallout.
Afghanistan has withdrawn its ambassador and top diplomats from Pakistan after the ambassador Najib Ali Khil's daughter Silsila Ali Khil was abducted and tortured for several hours in Islamabad last week. Afghanistan's government issued a statement asking Pakistan to take immediate action, identify and punish the perpetrators. Afghanistan's Foreign Office summoned Pakistan's ambassador to Kabul, Mansoor Ahmad Khan, and lodged a strong protest against the abduction. Islamabad claims it has initiated a high-level investigation ordered by Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan to identify and arrest the perpetrators. However, even before the probe could begin, Pakistan's Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid claimed the abduction was an international conspiracy and blamed both the victim and India.
गुत्थी जो है आज शाम तक सुलझ गई. हम रावलपिंडी की फुटेज देख रहे हैं तो मेरा ख्याल है इस केस की सारी कड़ियां मिल जाएंगी और हम इंटरनेशनल मीडिया को खास तौर पर जिसको कि इंडिया ने मिस गाइड किया हुआ है हकीकत के करीब ले जाने में कामयाब हो जाएंगे.
Chaudhry Fawad, another minister in Imran Khan's government, tried to deflect the blame for the abduction.
इरफान जो वजारत खारजा है उन्होंने हस्ब मामूल मेरा ख्याल है कि तहकीकात का इंतज़ार नहीं किया और एक गैर ज़िम्मेदाराना किस्म का बयान उनकी तरफ से आ गया. फिर वज़ीर सफ़ीद साहब को भी तलब किया गया जो कि मेरा ख्याल है काफ़ी गैर ज़रूरी था. जब तक हमें नहीं पता चले देखिए वो 5 घंटे के लिए अगवा हुई हैं और फिर उनको खुद ही वापस भी वो आ गई हैं.
But Afghanistan is not impressed. Taliban flag flying along with Pakistan flag at the Spin Boldak border is an indicator of the proximity between the Taliban and their handlers in Pakistan. In fact, Afghanistan's first Vice President Amrullah Saleh went on record to say that Pakistan army officers were actually leading the Taliban in the battles being fought for the control of Afghanistan. With Ashraf Vani in Kabul, Bureau Report, India Today.
With that, viewers, I'm going to go into a quick break. When we return, it's our Fact Check segment. Do stay with us.